Hello and welcome to the podcast Rummaging with Devi. Today we are going to be discussing about a topical topic, dowry. And to discuss that with me, I've got Suba. So we are two women from South Asian background and we both born in a place called Tamil Nadu in India and we live in the UK. And the reason we are discussing this today is mainly because of the recent spate of news, dowry deaths that's happened in Tamil Nadu. You might ask why we're discussing this in the UK here. I think it's still very relevant in the UK as it's a cultural practice and it's spread everywhere in the UK, US, everywhere where there is a South Asian diaspora. Before going into the podcast, we'd like to reiterate that dowry is actually illegal. It's covered by the Dowry Prohibition Act in India and the Domestic Abuse Act in the UK. Although the practice is illegal, it's still carried on and it is spiking as well. And that's what we're going to discuss today. What triggered this is few suicides. And so we don't condone suicide. You should go see someone to get help. By two women in the state of Tamil Nadu, around £1,000 worth of dowry, another 500 pounds, 500 pounds worth of dowry, or a million, a rich case. So it's not the money or the class that matters, it's across the space. And there are other cases as well that were reported with audio leaked and things like that, which makes you really sad, doesn't it? So here we are discussing the topic today. I have some stats which we'll go through as we go by. But when you heard about the incidents that happened, what was your feeling? First thing is, I was really angry. It's like we've been struggling with this for years and years. There seems to be no relief. I would say maybe, I would say there has been a slight reduction, maybe a decade or so back, but then it has spiked up. And even with our literacy and all those efforts the government takes, it still goes so high up, and women don't not given an option to walk out. That's one thing which really angered me the most. Because if you see all those dowry cases, there were major of them who were impacted were women who are highly educated, come from highly influential families. They did have financial backups or financial support, but they didn't have the family support or the strength. I wouldn't say a moral support more to walk out of that situation. That's what angered me the most. Yeah, I kind of agree with that because the deaths that happened, both the women were graduates. One of them was educated up to the master's level, master in computer science. Yes. And as you said, one of them had a good family background. So they had the means to live by themselves independently if they wished to. However, is the society framework of, do you think it's the stigma of divorce or being single? Why? What do you think is difficulty? I think it's a complex. It's a stigma of divorce. I know divorce is increasing, but then there's always that stigma. Your social pressure. And again, I would say like what the main cons. What others think. What society thinks of me. It's and again your parental pressure. A lot of complex things which go through. It's sad to see women like to think there's no way out of it. And I think majorly friends and family support would really help here. But and I think that's where their fear of failure in front of family and friends. That's I think one thing. Women, especially women who are more educated and in the more self-aware state or social state, who's still thinking that my family will think if I walk out of this. Am I a failure? I think that one thing is also a major contributing factor to this suicide or drastic step which women take. Could be no slight factor. So, marriage, do you think the onus is on women to make the marriage success? No, I think that's the main. That is the compulsion or the what is that's the expectation set. See, I think what happens is that the when a daughter is born, it's like you're kind of preparing her for marriage, and that's how the society works. And it's like you adjust. That adjust is it's a key word here. I've heard that, and many movies have come and also at home. It's okay. You would have some like if a lady goes or a girl comes to a home and tells that no, this is not right. It's okay. Adjust, or you would have done something wrong. Like he's a nice boy, a nice family. So adjust. Or you have siblings, so you need to look. We need to take care of them. You're not a responsibility right now, so There's a lot of small aspects which build on to breaking a woman's confidence, I feel. Yeah. It's more the perception of the family and the perception of the society of, what a woman should do. At this point, we would like to point out that it's still illegal in India to identify the gender of a unborn baby. So when a mother is pregnant and she goes and asks for the gender, during the scams. If the doctor does reveal the gender, then they've committed a crime. It's illegal and punishable by the law. The reason behind that is we want to reduce female infanticide. So people tend to abort a baby if they find it's a girl baby and things like that. So I think we, like in Indian women, especially, we're not talking in the broader South Asian context, but specifically in India, we're both born in India as women. And still now, it's a problem in the sense that to birth, for a woman to be born, for a girl to be born, there has to be some legal protections. But we have to say, according to the Hindu law, women have equal rights and property. Yes. So when women have equal rights and property, then they should share the burden of looking after parents, as has been seen, the whole South Asian culture. But however, that transformation or that cultural change hasn't happened yet. How many women do you think are allowed, or do you think as a family have the perception that it's their responsibility? It's also their responsibility to look after their parents, like share in medical expenses and things like that. Sharing, before even coming to the financial part, I think we women are resorted to a point that it's a clause which we need to put in before marriage, or you, if at all, the other side of or like the partner is receptive as well, tell that okay, I'll take care of my mom or dad, and I'll like set aside this much money from my earnings to take care of them later. It's something you need to put in prior to your wedding, or when it's that's the cases I've seen. So you need to. This is something like it's like your prenuptial clause. You need to talk to them before you even get into this arrangement. That's where we are resorted to. It's like it's something like it's not inherent. It's like we still have to fight for the right to take care of our parents. And it doesn't help that parents also think that it is a responsibility of the sons to take care of them. And I think it's changing. Yeah. It is. The change is slow. Very slow. Because personally, I've seen I would say from my native, a few of aunties and others who come by and say, I'm glad I have a daughter. It's changed. It is changing, but it's changing at a very, very, very slow rate. Yeah, it is. I just have some statistics here. I tried to find some information, research for this podcast. What is the situation on the ground, both in the UK and in India? The government of India hasn't released any figures after 2022. So the latest figures that they have are, and this is throughout India, not just for Tamil Nadu, not just on a state level. So the dowry deaths, these are the cases registered. So there's no information about whether they were convicted or not. No. So the cases registered for dowry deaths in 2022, 6,966. Now that is a very a small number when you compare to the landscape that is India. There's a huge range. And on the same year, there is another section that the government has another section called cruelty by husbands or his relatives, which is a higher number. There's 111,549 for the same year. And the cases registered under the Dowry Prohibition Act in 2020 is 10,366. It's a combination of all of this. So we would say, roughly around 130,000 cases in 2020, and similar numbers for 2021 and 2022 as well. There's not huge difference that we can see from here. And this data was obtained from a question that was asked in the Lok Sabha. So it's provided by the government of India. Now, the numbers don't represent the reality. Not at all. No. Yeah. Does that mean that people are reluctant to go and use the legal framework that's present to protect women in these cases? I think it's again complex, right? With the population and the government, like not many people are aware of all this benefits that they are legally provided. I mean, they are legally obligated to by the government. Not very many women, and there is again the social stigma. Stigma, yeah. Yeah, and like it's like you brought shame to this family, that family. So not many women have really opened up. It's so many things which is inside the photo. Four walls. People, I think maybe this might be very hardly a single digit percentage of what else would have come up. Yeah. Yeah, it's probably less than 1% of the actual cases. Yeah. Because this is a whole India representative. And I can see the numbers just in my native city itself, probably more than that. I can, maybe count, if I count within the circle of people that I know, probably be less than more than this. Agreed. Agreed. So both the occasions, we were talking about the social stigma attached to it. Now, Tamil Nadu is a state. The literacy rates of women is much higher on a national average in India. And also, the labor participation of women within the society is also higher. It's much higher than the national average. So, which means more women are financially independent, more women go to universities and actually contributing, not independent. That is a good point. So, they have the financial means, but perhaps they're not empowered. They're not. So the point is, both education and the means to earn money hasn't empowered a woman to live by herself, or to stand up for herself and speak against her family, whether it's her parents or her husband and in-laws, and be able to, if both of them don't work out, be able to independently stay. Because maybe in the 1960s, I mean, when the Dowry Act was really bad, there were lots of dowry deaths, and that's why they brought in the legislation. When the problem was very epidemic, I still think it's very epidemic. When it was very epidemic, it was always thought, educate a woman, and that will empower women to come out of this toxic issues and things like that. Now we've had two generations since then, Yes. Our parents, us, and maybe, our children as well. Many of my children, my age, my children's age, not my age, my children's age, are getting married now. Amongst all of these things, so if we say education and means of employment hasn't changed this, then what will? Education definitely has created more awareness, but changing, I think, again, it starts from home. But I know it's difficult. It starts from the home, starts from the parents, like treating, again, gender equality that comes in, and not grooming the girl, like telling that you are the pride, or like you are the one who carries the name of the family, honor of the family, and son is the pride, and whatever he does is excused. And then that's, I think it should start from there. Because even if when you're educated, it's kind of it's onto you, like that you have to be, you have, this is your restriction, you have to live by these rules. So you kind of, even when you are educated, have certain rules which are kind of put on you, which you can't, it kind of becomes like your invisible what is cage for a woman. So the cultural norms and the framework hasn't changed as such with education. So we missed a point with education. And this is one thing I always think, that we made education as dowry, because I've seen many examples, like if the bride is an engineer, okay, so your dowry is X. But if the bride is a doctor, oh, she studied a little bit more, so the dowry would be a Y, kind of thing. So the dowry is reduced depending on the education of the woman. It's again not ready. It's a good point you brought. You see, if here now is calculated based on the education, and again, what she'll be able to contribute further on. It's not only that. So it's actually not you're bringing less. The upfront amount is less, but you're going to contribute throughout your life. Yes. I mean, all women contribute, right? Yes, that is true. So our cultural norms and frameworks are so rigid that even with the introduction of something like education, we've converted that as a means to dowry rather than the opposite. We were hoping the outcome would be the opposite, right? And this is why I think it's very relevant that we talk about this in the UK also, because if the cultural norms are so strict, even for educated people and the elitist class, people who have more money or less money, irrespective of anything on that sort, are we bringing those cultural framework and norms to UK as well. And do you think we, as a generation, are perpetuating it to faraway lands other than India? Wherever the diaspora goes, we take this with us. We are, right? I or we are seeing that happen. It's kind of like it's a part of what you are. You're kind of bringing. You want to hold on to a lot of things, and this becomes it is wrong, but this becomes something easy to bring out, and we seem to be holding on to that. Yeah. But I see. I would say coming out to a Western culture and having a more openness is not coming in when we are getting more aggressive. I see people who are um, outside our continent per se, like in UK, US, and all, having a bit more regressive, taking a step back into the older times rather than people who are facing this day to day. I think. Do you think that's because we don't want to lose our culture. We want to be in touch with our culture because when we come out, we feel that I mean, obviously, we want to integrate with the society, whether it be America, Australia, or Europe, any other place, or Africa for that matter. So we want to integrate with the society, but at the same time, you want to keep an identity, and that is to the culture. And for some reason, you're saying that we keep all the regressive ones as well. Seem to be easy to hold on to. Yeah, I was actually for research. I was trying to find out if there's still dowry in the UK, and I came across this person called Aruna, and she's the founder of Asian Single Parents Network, and she talks about her experiences with dowry. This is 2011, right? And she had. She was harassed by her husband for dowry, and she had to walk out of the marriage and things like that. This was in 2011, and she founded this network, and she's written a brilliant blog. I think listeners would know about a murder case in 2024 where a husband killed his wife in a suitcase. Yes. A nation one, right? And that case, they have registered a dowry harassment case in Delhi. Okay. So that they say that is a dowry case. We don't know, it's they've alleged it currently. So investigations will need to progress. So there's quite a bit of, dowry prevalence that makes the news now and then. And there are people who come out and talk. And the other thing was there are lots of, divorce lawyers who work with the South Asian community who have like specialist cases where dowry is involved. So when there is a divorce, you have to prove that this wealth was a dowry. Dowry, okay. And how that's split when a dowry happens. So there's quite a lot of blogs and everything out there by lawyers who put out some guidance, like if there is dowry, make sure it's registered, right, yeah, so that when there is divorce, you can separate things like that. So we've certainly bought the regressive, not so good practices to the UK as well. The key question here is if education and so we saw education as a tool that will help, and we come across, we physically transported to another culture that doesn't do dowry. Maybe the Europeans did do dowry once upon a time, but it's not prevalent now. And we live among this culture and we still hold on to it. So what can be done to remove this? I think we all have agreed that this is not a good thing to do. But legally, it's not the right thing, and culturally and morally and ethically is also not the right thing. So how do we get rid of this if it's so epidemic wherever the South Asian diaspora is? And again, this is not religious because we talk about Hindu religious thing. A recent case that's again doing the rounds in Tamil Nadu is from a Muslim family, irrespective of religion. Yeah. We managed to break boundaries of religion, caste, everything. At least in this, we kind of are united. Yes. Ideally, it breaks down on geography. It breaks down, there's no geography is not a barrier. Religion is not a barrier. If it was a good practice, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it? But we've done this for a bad practice. How do we get rid of it? Getting rid of it, I mean, it's going to be quite difficult. But maybe personally, I feel because it's the women who are impacted. Women supporting women is the first step. Anyway, I know it's a cliche. It's all there, but I think as a woman struggling or suffering through it, I think a helping hand or a moral support, that is definitely one thing to like guide them through whatever they're going through. And
Awareness. This is social awareness, totally. And like separating dowry from the social culture. I think it's so ingrained into our culture, right? It's it's almost flowing through your blood. It is. It is. Yeah, yeah. I have to say this, I'm not fond of gold jewelry or anything, but in the last 2 3 years, I've got it into my head that I have, that I haven't actually actively been purchasing gold jewelry for my daughter. I'm against the practice of dowry, and I wouldn't be giving her a gift when she gets married, if she eventually chooses to marry or anything of that sort. However, I got this in my head and went around trying to buy jewelry. And then it took me some time, I would say a few years to know, why am I doing this? It's not necessary. I don't even like jewelry. My daughter doesn't like jewelry. Why am I investing or buying this? Because when people around you talk about this, when somebody like me can get sucked into something like this, when you're living and breathing this every day, it's easy to get sucked into this. And again, I think it's actually might have started off as something like a mother, like you said, right? You want to give something for your daughter for. It's more like a gift. So she is being whatever our social structure is, that a daughter gets uprooted from the parents' family, goes lives near law. So you want her to be comfortable. So you're gifting her what you think she will need throughout for what. But that kind of got converted into this concept of dowry, which like, okay, you bring this, but that is for the daughter. I think that is where maybe could be a good way of like, it's for the daughter. So I think that's where we should stop. It's you're gifting your daughter is going to another home. So you want her to have what comfort, what you or what do you say? Some backup. From backup. So yeah, that's a good thing. But when we mix it with this transaction of marriage, because it's become business, it's where it gets a little. Yeah, I think you made you used a sentence there, like she's going to another house. I think that's the concept. The boy, both bride and the groom are going to another house. If we get into the mindset that both of them are going to another house, it's not just the girl. So because they are going to go marry, create their own family, and live their life, so they're both creating a new family that is independent of their parent family that they came from. And if we get into the mindset of that, so if we're gifting girls, we're gifting boys, or we're not gifting them both. Both, yes. And then because the law now says there's equal rights and property, so then an idea would be, okay, they get married, adopt something what the Western culture have done, in the sense that the wedding is funded by the people who are getting married. Yes, yes. The bride and the groom. So they save up money for their own wedding. So if they decide to get married, they use their money for the wedding, have a big wedding or small wedding, depending on how much they've saved up. And then the parents' wealth would be divided between the girls and the boys at the end when it needs to be done. So then they are assured, they will get the wealth at some point in time rather than at the point of marriage. But again, that's one more. I think maybe here now, when you touch about that inheritance. So don't you think that is also playing a factor here? See, that's one good thing about UK culture as such. You are not obligated to give your kids anything. Exactly, yeah. So you don't have to give them inheritance. If you want, you can give. They're not obligated to whatever I earn or whatever I have. So when I think that is one more thing which is kind of woven into our culture of dowry, because the son of that family would be inheriting so much. The girl who comes in should deserve that inheritance as well. And so you tie it up. So there are so many aspects to it which needs to be slowly trimmed down. It's not a simple matter. So you when the son and the daughter are kind of rely or want the inheritance, so a lot of things come into play. Yes, there was an interesting stats. I don't know if I have it now, but it's about how many people owned a dwelling in India. So it says, yes. No, I don't think I have the stats here. Probably I'll give the link in the podcast. But the stats was like the percentage of men versus women owning a dwelling in their name, either solely or jointly. The amount of women were three times less than men. So it's the property rights for women and our attitude
of inheriting wealth for both, boys and girls. I think that's we need as a society to change our attitude towards wealth and what we need to pass on to the next generation and whatnot. Because, like, Bill Gates, he's not giving. And then comes one of those things, philanthropy in India is not as much. When you compare to the European countries, I think philanthropy is more giving to temples and churches and more religious institutions, because we all know Tirupati temple gets a huge amount. It's a donation. Yeah, it's get lots of donation. So philanthropy, rather than giving to other people, we give it to religious institutions. It's the same as with all other religion as well. Definitely, it's not just one religion, but maybe our attitude towards wealth and what and the expectations on children to obtain their own wealth should change. Definitely, definitely, that should change. I think that it starts there, right? And because when you don't have that obligation, you don't. It's wealth is something we seem to hold on to, so it's almost egoistic. The way we hold on to having your name on certain property or whatever it is, I think those status those have to change. There's a lot of, I think, the perspective of, like you said, money, wealth, how you want to philanthropy, charity. I think we are lacking way behind in that. Yeah, I know. When you like, for example, when I got my first salary, I was with a bunch of friends. We all, we were working together in a place, and they all went and put some money in a temple. Donate in a temple. We call it like there's a box we call it undial. Yeah. So we put some money in that, and I did that as well because everybody around me were doing it. My parents didn't ask me to do it, but because everyone around you is doing it. Think, oh, okay, why am I the only person not doing it? So it's almost like a gratitude. The view is, okay, I've started earning, so I'm paying a gratitude to a god, which is okay. Why can't we convert that as gratitude to fellow human beings? Do you think empathy is lacking in our culture as very much? You touched on a point of, see, I think I don't know, I may be wrong, but our society, at least I would comment on as a Tamil, I'll comment on Tamil society. We are so fixated. It's like you do something good, only then God rewards you. That reward, give and take, or it's like I pray, I put something. If no religion, yeah, there's no religions, religious all protestants all do the same. So I go and I give a part of my salary. I do some like whatever donation, whatever. God will do good to me. I think that is one thing which we need to break. Maybe we should transaction based. Yes, maybe we should slightly convert that into empathy to fellow human beings also. Yeah. Yeah. I think that is something it has become so much, right? It's like not taking a dig on any of old practices and traditions. I think they were all done to show your happiness or whatever, and then now it has become like if I do good, if I fast, and if I give food for 100 people, I'll be happy, and I'll have Lakshmi or wealth coming into my house. I think that is again a cliche which we need to break. Yeah, absolutely. And also, the earlier point you touched about treating girls in parity with boys, and that sort of invisible cage. You can do so much, but not that much. Not much, yes. Kind of thing. Okay, you can go to university, but you can't work outside. No. Maybe you can't go to another city and work, or something like that. And education is seen as a means of to attract a better husband or something, rather than what can my daughter do with the education, kind of thing. So I think our treatment of girls and boys is still very much in the homes when they're growing up, even before marriage. It starts, as we discussed, well before birth. The legality we have to once the fetus, so once a girl is born. So I think we need government protection to be found. Exactly, and that's a shameful thing, isn't it? I come from a place where female infanticide was practiced quite much. I'm from Madurai. This is a recorded fact. About the female infanticide. There's been many movies and stuff like that. It's quite a known fact across the state of Tamil Nadu. And for us to be born and sitting and having an education and being sat talking itself is an achievement. Definitely, it is a big achievement. for each one of us that was born, probably there were many. There were not being able to born. So I think the treatment of women and girls within our homes should change. It's not just about sending girls to school and universities. It's also treating women as independent people, just like how we would treat a boy as an independent person. You would want the boy to go to a shop and buy things. So would you want a girl to go to the shop and buy things as well, rather than oh my girl's going to be at home. The boy will go to the shop and buy things. She just go to the university and come back, kind of stuff.
More than equality, accepting her as an individual person. I think it should start there. When you start respecting a person as being an individual, everything will slowly fall in place.
Yeah. And I think it's not just a problem for women, it's a problem for men as well.
Right.
I remember this audio. Again, it was a suicide by a girl who died from dowry harassment. What she recorded in the suicide it was like a few months back. I remember discussing this with my friend at that time. In her message, she recorded that my husband was good. It was my mother-in-law who asked for the dowry. It was harassment from my mother-in-law.
Yes.
And the discussion that my friend and I had was, she said, like both of us agreed that who's she? She's married to the husband, not to the mother-in-law, kind of thing.
So we are married to the family. That's the thing, right? That's a problem.
And that's what we need to change. But the question here is the husband's role. The men, the viewpoint of men's role in it. There is a view that men are not involved, but I disagree with that, because there is an expectation from men for women to give a certain dowry as well. But again, they are also impacted by this, because in that instance, in the example that I gave, maybe the groom also couldn't stand up to his parents and say, no, I want to live with this girl, leave us alone. So he didn't have a voice, so he lost his wife. So it's the men are also equally impacted.
Definitely.
I think.
Because again, they are impacted because see, like I said, when the girl is conditioned to be born and get married and all the honor, the men are as well, right?
Yeah.
You have a disproportionate expectation on the men as well. So you are the status, so you have to live like that. You have to show. So when that comes, and I think there is definitely pressure on men as well. I think
maybe we should have some male representation
as well.
the podcast.
Yes, yes, definitely. Because I think men can lead, like you said that instance, like he was helpless.
Yeah.
I think there are many men who are helpless, many sons who are helpless against their moms or dads or whatever social pressure. They're not able to stand up. And again, maybe we need to check in that aspect as well to see how we can help men to help each other. I think here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think. It's breaking families. People are not happy. Newlyweds, especially in an arranged marriage setting, it's quite hard to get to know to each other and build a relationship. And when you're starting off with all this pressure of both for the men and the women to say, or something like that, it makes it even harder. And it doesn't lead to a good society of having good families. More geography to UK here. Now, we do practice dowry and things like that here in the UK as well. Now, how can we change that settings? Do you think our cultural connect and is there an accountability for cultural associations within South Asia to have some policies or do some lobbying to remove this practice? Please, when you are getting married, don't give dowry or something like that.
Each of us are accountable for that. I think we do have cultural organizations which mostly are like trying to replicate the festivities we have here rather than like support. I think that is something which we are very way behind, we are lacking. We should have some definitely a counseling center and support, because I think there is a very, very limited number of, like, if you say psychiatrists, counselors who are like South Asian or brown who can, because it's easy for people to relate to us when we have a similar cultural background. And like you said, you have anti-dowry. And then there are other practices which we shouldn't be following, which we have taken up, like brought it up with us.
Yeah.
Which,
Caste, for example.
that's a whole yes, we have bought everything. So I think we should have, there should be a voice. It's more like to keep reminding that this is something wrong. You can make a change. I think that is something we can do.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And also, I want to say, I wanted to end off this by saying it's not just supposedly arranged marriages that perpetuating the dowry. All kinds of perpetuating this topic of dowry. So we don't agree with it. We want to change it, and we think attitude towards wealth and attitude towards the girl children, not just in terms of education and financial independence, but complete change in attitude towards both girls and boys. Raising boys will bring out a change, maybe in generation or two.
I think at least, like you said, we can start making a small, small step. So at least one or two generations down, they'll have a drastic difference. Because definitely we are sitting here, like you said, like from we both come from very rural places, and then able to come sit here in a different country and being educated, working. It's a great step. There have been struggles of countless number of women who have really paved way for us. So I think that is something we should be voicing step by step, so that the next few generations of women, maybe we might not be there to see that happen, but it'd be really a good start for us to do something like that.
Yeah. So I think it's individual accountability also to support other women, other men, families, whether we are in India or UK or anywhere else, even wherever the diaspora is, and also changing ourselves, our attitude towards, it's not just education, and it came as I won't say I was shocked, but personally, my personal experience was, it stopped me from my attitude of, oh, I have to buy jewelry for my daughter. And I reflected upon this and thinking, how did I get sucked into this? I'm quite rational. I'm against dowry. I've always been against dowry. It's not a new thing. And how did I get sucked into this view of I need to buy jewelry for my daughter? That so personal for me, a personal thought was, I'm going to stop it now. I'll probably invest the money in their ISA account or something. But
Yeah,
but
definitely
not,
something which she can.
yeah, but definitely not in jewelry. But yeah, so we are all accountable.
Well, definitely.
We should all carry the torch forward so that
So that
women can live peaceful lives, and so can men. The society
definitely.
as a whole can increase.
Yes,
Improve.
definitely.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Suba.
much.
And please do watch the podcast and send us your feedback and let us know your personal opinion as well as your personal stories if you want to share. And yeah, thank you for watching and listening to us.
Thank you.
I hope we recorded all that.